Morning everyone, welcome to Mental Detox episode 5. It is your incredibly beautiful host, and today I actually have one of my closest friends with me on this podcast. I feel like she has a great story to tell, and I feel like the life that she has gone through so far could impact and help a crazy amount of people. So I just want to bring her out right now. Her name's Kari. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing okay. So nice to see you. So, like I said, I brought you on this podcast because, as me and you talked in the past, I think that the way you go about your life and the way you carry yourself is in such a great way to where I see a bunch of other people struggle for the things that you already do.
Right.
So, I feel like you telling your story to the people watching this right now will impact a lot of people and help them. Mm-hmm. So I ask you if you're open enough and you're comfortable, you could tell your story to the people you have right now.
Okay. Well, so I guess I'll start off with a small introduction of why I'm here. So I'm a sophomore here at Charleston Southern. I'm studying criminal justice. Charleston Southern actually wasn't my first choice. I was actually going to go to North Greenville, but plans changed because I was going to do ROTC, and then I didn't get that scholarship that I was hoping for, which a lot of people would have been discouraged, but I just kind of tried to use the positive outlook that I try to have on life and take it a different way, and here I am. I think one of the biggest struggles that I've had in life is probably just learning how to fit in. And then as I've gotten older, learning that fitting in isn't always what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever heard the famous quote, "Why fit in when you're born to stand out?"
Yeah.
That's one of the quotes I live by because I don't think that I was born to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times whenever you're known by a lot of people, your presence is known as one that stands out, not one that fits in. Mm-hmm. And I think you present that really well too. That's why I hold our friendship so close, is because I think that you help remind me on a daily basis that, we're not meant to fit in. We're meant to stand out because we have purpose.
It's okay to be different. It's always okay to be different. I kind of dislike people that always the same. I meet this person, different name, different background. Mm-hmm. I meet this other person, different name, different background, but they're the two same people. I'm just like, come on now.
Exactly.
What branch of the ROTC were you going to go into?
I was going to do Army originally because I did Army Junior ROTC in high school, and I loved it. To me, Army's as they call it, it's the original, it's the OG, if you will. It's like the branch that started it all. And then I got convincing to do Air Force because they say they're better to their people, which is kind of known to be true just because, especially with just females in general, but just their people, they're treated better. That's why they call it the chair force. I'm going to get back to that one.
Chair, they don't do much, so it'll be okay.
Yeah, that's what I was doing here was Air Force ROTC, and it was good. The people are fantastic. It's just I had a lot of thinking and realized that that my path was not for. That's not what I'm meant for right now.
Yeah, so the Air Force. I'm sorry, but it's a chair force. Every time I meet all my friends, by the way, yesterday was Veterans Day, so to all the veterans out there, thank you for your service and all that you do. I feel like you guys deserve so much more credit than you do. Today, y'all should get a week, to be honest. But as you said, that sometimes you don't fit in. And it took a while, even for myself, to be like, hey, I'd rather be different than be the same.
Right.
Growing up, I was always messed with. I look different, I sound different, I act different. So my biggest fear was being different.
Right.
And it took me a while to realize being different is a blessing.
Oh, of course, 100%.
So when you say you didn't fit in, how do you think you didn't fit in?
Honestly, probably every way possible. It started, honestly, from the very beginning. I went to, I remember hearing your story and you telling me how many high schools you went to. That was crazy hearing that. But I went to a few different schools, I think. It was really in elementary school when I had the issue, because most of my schooling was done at a private school. And I was different because I didn't live around the kids that I was in a class with. They had, how they have the cliques. And it's usually it's just in high school, but it's in elementary school and middle school too. If you don't have the money, if you don't have the name brand clothes, if you don't like do certain things, then you just don't fit in right. And I was like, I lived 25 minutes from the private school I went to. All of them lived in the town or like near the area. I didn't really wear the name brands, not because we couldn't really afford it, it's just not what we did, because, you know, name brands just weren't my family's thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of like sweetened cornflakes instead of frosted flakes. It's just whatever you prefer. But it was, I always had the issue with fitting in because I didn't do things the same way people did. Mm-hmm. Most people that know me know I have more of a tomboyish personality for a female, and that's not really like looked at normally. It's starting to become normal, I think, but that feeds into a lot of other accusations and rumors that it's different from fitting in. But it was just the fact that, and also being short, but I was a minority in elementary school, kind of, in one of the years, and then just the fact that I did things differently. I didn't really like doing the normal, like, girly things at a young age, because it wasn't my thing, and I didn't fit in for most of those reasons. And the girls, I just didn't get along with them because I preferred doing more, you know, tomboyish things. I liked playing in the dirt. They didn't want to get their hands messy. And so I was just looked at as weird and different because I didn't like doing the things that they like to do. And the class was so small that it's like, well, all of them like doing this, but I like doing the things with the guys. And so I just never fit, and that was the main thing. I just never really fit in with females, but just in general, never fitting in. But later on, I learned how much of a blessing that would be, because your differences later on help you stick out in good ways once you learn to embrace that they're good things.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, you probably already know this. You're white.
Yeah. Well, really? Didn't know that.
So when you say you're the minority inside school, what does that mean? Especially a private school.
Right. It was more of the elementary school, actually, because I went through the local elementary school in like K3 through K5. Pretty sure I was the only white kid in the classes, I want to say. Yeah, I remember the school pictures. I was the only white kid, not just girl, but white kid, like ever. Sorry if that's offensive to anybody. And then 5th grade, I had to go back to the school because my parents, they wanted to get us in the private academy because they thought it was such a good school and all this stuff. It wasn't that great. They realized it afterwards because I didn't fit in just as much as I didn't fit in the local elementary school. And I was a really sensitive kid, so anything that was said to me, I was just like, wow, that hurt. But 5th grade, I was still minority. I wasn't the only white person, but I was the only white female. And I got called pretty much any racial white slur you could ever imagine.
There's not that many.
There's not that many, but they found some. They found literally anything to call me. I'm not going to repeat them just because trauma. No, I'm just kidding. But
it's okay.
No, it wasn't that. Looking back on it, it wasn't that bad, and it definitely made me stronger. But as an emotional kid, it was really hard because I just, you know, every day I contemplated, why don't I fit in? Why can't I feel like, you know, I want to be, like, people want to be around me? Why can't I be, you know, a person that people like and want to be around and want to be friends with? Because when I was younger, I was a people pleaser. Yes. I was like, well, what can I do for them to like me? What can I do to fit in? And then I realized it's not about fitting in. It's about, you know, sharing your talent, sharing what, you know, what is meant for you from God, like to show how He wants you to be portrayed to people, like you're doing things for Him because you have these God-given talents. You just got to find them. Yeah.
So as a people pleaser, what does that look like? Wasn't that kind of mentally draining?
Oh, for sure. I still think it's mentally draining.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm much of a people pleaser anymore. Some people might say I am, just depending on how you look at it, and the mindset you have behind what a people pleaser is. I think it's more of just like you're trying to make sure that everybody around you is happy no matter how it affects you, which that is extremely mentally draining. Physically too, depending on how far you take it.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing because I wanted to be liked by everybody. I wanted people to know, you know, that I'm a great person, that I'm willing to do anything for you. I'd give the shirt off my back for anybody. I tell them that. Until you give me a reason that I can't trust you or that, you know, you don't deserve, like, even people that don't deserve the treatment I give, I still give it to them because I'm too nice of a person to say no most of the time. But I've learned from that. But people having that people pleaser mentality, it's not good. It's not healthy. You can do it for the people that actually appreciate you and give the effort back. But as far as the people that aren't giving the effort back, it's like you're just gonna kill yourself and
yeah, you're gonna be mentally drained and
Exactly.
you can't be burned out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Me, I also used to be a people pleaser. I remember in middle school and high school, I would stand out, but not in a good way.
Right.
My reasoning behind why do I stand out wasn't the reasoning because, oh, this is who I am, this is my personality. My reasoning was more, well, if I do this, they're not gonna think of me this way, they're gonna think of me this way.
Right.
If I do this, they're gonna wanna hang around me. So I always kind of stood out there trying to please everyone I see. And I feel like in this generation, people have it confused between people pleasing and also friendships.
Right.
Nowadays, I don't really please a lot of people. It's kind of fuck you to a whole bunch.
Right.
But I have friends, and those friends, you're hungry, I buy you food.
Yeah.
If you need to go somewhere, I take you. If you need a favor, I have that favor to give. And I feel like some people today confuse that as people pleasing instead of just being regular friends.
Right.
Another thing that I heard from you saying was you also went to a private school, but you're also in a public school as well.
Right.
So, like I said, this generation, private and public, they're like two different
Completely
opinions
different.
on what's one and what's the other. How do you feel about private and public schools from your own experiences?
Because I'm from a small town and the private school and public school were in different counties also. But if it were a bigger county, like as far as how people act, I wouldn't say it's that much different in some aspects. Private schools are probably definitely more don't take as much crap, I would say. But if you're in a bigger county, I'm sure depending on the people and the population that you deal with, it might not even be that much different from public school. But the private school I went to, it was a very small school. I don't think our population ever exceeded like maybe 200 students since I went there. It was 1st to 4th and then 6th to 9th. And I don't think the population ever exceeded 200 people. That's how small of a school it was. It was a great school, it just wasn't for me. I've seen a lot of friends succeed, graduate, and they're off big colleges doing great, and I'm extremely proud of them. But the public school, I think it was just like any ordinary public school. Our population there, however, exceeded 600 each year, which is big for the county that I went to school in. I live in a different county from all the schools I ever went to, besides the local elementary school. But that wasn't exactly by choice, but I dealt with it. The public school gave me a lot more opportunities because the private school and public school were both in small counties. However, the public school is the reason that I got into junior ROTC. Best decision I ever made in school, ever. It was kind of like my home away from home. It gave me a sense of purpose, gave me a sense of structure and discipline. Most of the things I already had, but I could help instill that in other kids who came from not the best situations. Because a lot of kids that go into that program are from like broken homes and stuff, and it's really hard to see the things that they go through. But
so when we talk about OTC, what type of people do you think fit into OTC well?
Really anyone. People from all different types of backgrounds go into ROTC. Because me, if you think about me compared to a lot of people, my home life, I would pretty great, I guess. Everything has its ups and downs, but a lot of people come from broken homes, not great parents, whether their parents are divorced or they have multiple different like stepdads, stepmoms, because sometimes you really get surprised on the situations that you hear. And the ways that they've been impacted in their lives, the trauma they've gone through, the difficulties, some things that some people who are honestly younger, like me as a senior, I was a cadet mentor my senior year, and these cadets coming in as freshmen, hearing their stories and the lives that they've dealt with, and I'm just sitting here looking at them in shock, pure awe, like, how are you still alive? Because just an ordinary kid go into high school with their first year, but yeah, they've already dealt with all of this.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking in my head, I don't know that I could have gone through that, and I don't know how you're standing here in front of me. And I was like, just because of that, I was like, you're already such an amazing person. You don't realize the things that you've been through. Most people would have probably just like left it there and just, ended it all. And it's the fact that you're standing here right now telling me this is probably one of the most courageous things I've ever seen. And I try to tell people, like, your story is important. Everybody's story is different, and nobody can tell your story the way that you do, and that anything that happens in your story, like, you have a purpose. You may not know what your purpose is yet, but everyone has one, and you'll find it, but you can't stop. You have to keep going.
So as a cadet mentor your senior year, yourself personally and what you've seen from others, how does ROTC kind of structure the everyday person that participates in it?
So when you are taking it day by day, a lot of people, when they think of ROTC, both college and high school, starting with high school, they really just think that it's a bunch of military stuff, which with my program, I don't know if I should say their names, but I'll think about it in a second. The instructors were incredible. We were a very small school, so our program never really exceeded more than, I'd say, like 100 or so cadets. But I mean, the impact that we had was still amazing. ROTC, there is drill and ceremony to it, but the point of ROTC is to essentially create leaders of good character, and to create just citizens of the United States is good for, like, with good character. I'm trying to remember our motto, and of course it's going out of my head right now. I'll remember it when the podcast is over, of course.
Yeah,
but that's how it goes. The point is to build people up and to build their character and build them into credible citizens, so that you can have this structure, this discipline, this respect for people in life, and have the maturity that you should have. Because a lot of kids, they don't really get the structure, that discipline. They don't have the respect anymore, like, for, like, home lives, for, elders in general in life. The qualities that, like, we have values that spell out leadership, kind of. It's loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. And that's, like, the core values that that they go by in the program. And we teach each cadet what each one of those means and how you can apply it to your, like, life with work, school, in any aspect, so that it can help mold you to have this character that people will look up to. Because by the time it's your senior year, you should be, this credible person. You should know your cadet, what's it called? Motto. I think it's motto. Maybe something like that. I'm forgetting everything right now. Because I haven't been in junior ROTC in so long. But it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, and I saw a lot of people's lives turn around. A lot of them would say, like, it's because of you. I'm like, no, I didn't do anything. I just helped you realize what you were looking past in yourself. I didn't do anything. I don't give myself the credit for what happens in your life. I might have helped you find what was there, but I didn't do that for you. With that, I'm not going to take the credit for someone else's story, because I have my own story, and I take credit for my own story. I do. I appreciate the people that got me there, but I don't like sharing a lot of my personal things with people, because I had instances growing up where it backfired on me. And so, I believe that everybody should have someone to go to, and I have people I can go to. I just don't do it often, and I regret it when I do it a lot of times, just because bottling emotions aren't good. But whenever you have someone, like the program, for example, when you have somebody come to you, they're like, I don't know what to do, whether it's personal issue, whether it's home life, whether it's work, school, whatever it is, and the fact that they're trusting in you to, like, maybe not so have an answer, but to just listen to them, because they don't really have somebody that's at home or at school or whatever to sit there and listen to them and make them feel important, make them feel like somebody who's worth time. You would think that, people that age, like freshmen, that's what, 14, 15, 16, that they would have somebody to go and talk to, but a lot of them really don't. And you watch these people, these cadets transform from their freshman year. It's like babies. They don't know what they're doing. So some of the movements, left and right face, it's just a turn. It's a movement. But when you don't know how to do it before, it's kind of like learning how to tie a shoe. Before you know how to tie a shoe, you're like, I don't know how to do this, all the steps and stuff. But when you finally learn how to do it, it's like such a big accomplishment. But for us seniors, it's like, oh, that's just a basic movement. But if you look back and you remember that freshman year when you were still learning how to do those things and still trying to understand what that means and how to apply it to your life, and you look at where you are now and you're watching these people transform into the next leaders, it's an incredible process, and it's probably one of the best things that I've ever seen happen to other people, including myself, because I know for a fact, without junior ROTC, I wouldn't be the person that I am today.
Okay, so you said junior ROTC, so I'm assuming that you went to a public high school. So with that said, when we talk about cliques, because there's cliques in every high school.
Right.
To me, cliques were always unhealthy, but as a freshman coming in, I didn't see it that way.
Right.
I saw it as I need to be in the top clique, and if I'm in the top, I'm secure for my next 4 years. When you were in high school, what clique do you think you fit in the most?
None of them, I'll be honest with you. If I had to choose, whatever clique that outcasts are, I would say. I was still, I guess you could say, a weirdo. I consider myself a quirky person, so I just found a bunch of quirky people and was like, hey, let's be friends.
Yeah.
But with the situation, like in high school, I kind of already had friends to come to, which was nice. But no, I found some of my own people as time went on. It took a little bit. It always takes a little bit. But when you have people that you kind of know of whenever you're coming into a new situation, it's a little bit easier to kind of put your foot in the water and be like, okay, trying to find people. But ROTC really helped with finding my own people, and then just people in classes. Because I am a people person. I'm a social butterfly, so I will just walk up to somebody and be like, hey, my name's Kari. You know, how are you? What's your name? What do you do? Blah, blah. I mean, in high school, it's a little bit different than that.
Yeah.
But it was easy kind of to find people that looked like they could be friendly. And then if the friendship works out, cool. If it doesn't, on to the next person.
So do you think high school is much easier than elementary and middle?
Easier socially? For some people, yes. Academically, no. But socially, depending on the person you are, I think it was easier for me because there was a bigger population of people to kind of reach out to and to talk to, because you had your diversity. There was a decent amount of diversity at my high school, despite being a small county. Elementary and middle, however, very difficult to have friends because it was such a small population. So for my situation, yes, it was easier to make friends. But for other people, depending on the situation.
Yeah, so you've been talking a lot about school and how you grew with school.
Right.
But what's one of the biggest things that made you grow outside of school?
Wow.
You weren't ready for that one?
Nope, I wasn't. I wasn't at all. I would say, honestly, sports. I mean, that's still kind of connected to school, but sports, anything to do with outdoors. That sounds silly, but kind of outdoors is where I find my happiness.
Okay.
And just like family. Family's a big thing. And then I like small hobbies. Fishing's fun. Because it or as everybody would say, my grandma hobby. I like crocheting and knitting.
Okay, yeah, I see that all the time.
That finds a different crowd of people for sure. Not just old women, but I know a few people around campus that actually do it too. But yeah, I would say I just like being. I appreciate alone time, and a lot of people our age I don't think really understand that, because I think there's a big difference between being alone and being lonely. I think it sounds similar, but I think there's a big difference in it whenever I put it into my own mind. But one of my favorite things to do is just driving around in my truck and listening to music. That because you can be with your own thoughts, and when you're not with people, you can just kind of say how you feel, and when you hear it out loud, it's kind of different, other than just being in your head. So you can be like, and it's just like an interesting perspective.
So we just talked about what kind of had made you grow the most outside of school. But what was one of the biggest lessons outside of school that you learned? Most times lessons aren't really good. To me, there's a lot of lessons I learned, but I had to go through hell to learn the lesson. So outside of school, what was that for you?
I would say probably, it sounds really strange, but independence.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to be independent, because to me, the more dependent you are on people, the more it can come back to bite you.
Yes, they'll let you down.
Not only just in like relationships, but in friendships, bonds, connections, anything. Because the more dependent you are on people, the less that you count on yourself, I feel like. Because when you're dependent on people, you're expecting for people to be behind you all the time and to back you up and to be there when you fall. But if you're more independent, you learn to take all that stuff like a grain of salt and just get back up, dust your stuff off, and go on to your next thing. And so I feel like independence really shapes you into the person you are, because you learn that not everything in life is worth making a big deal about, and that a lot of things, like once you learn your independence, a lot of things that might be like kind of minuscule to you, people that are dealing with the independence issues, they're like, you know, one person says this one thing and they're upset about it for a month. But if you have your independence and something happens to you, you know, within a week you're bouncing back and you're back at whatever you're doing, or you're trying a new thing. And, you know, it's kind of like whenever I found out you were doing the podcast, I was like, hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, something
the fact
new.
That you know, you took this leap, and like I think you're a very admirable person for all the, you know, decisions that you've been making recently, because you don't do things for, you know, others and I've seen you, the things that you're doing in your life, you're glorifying God in so many ways, and that's extremely admirable, because a lot of people in college, they're trying to find themselves, but you're trying to find yourself through Him, and that's beautiful. And it's extremely like I said, it's crazy to see, you know, the person that you are and like the story that you've expressed and that you've told so many times. I've heard a few different perspectives, but it's like a lot of people, every time they tell it, it's a little bit different. Yours is pretty much, it's the same way all the time, because like why change it when it's not meant to be changed? But seeing the person that you are now from what you've come from, it's incredible. And I don't know if you hear it often, but as a close friend of yours, I hope you know that I am proud of you for that. So.
I'm proud of myself too. That sounds very cocky.
No, it doesn't at all. I think you should
cocky.
be proud of yourself. Everyone should.
But even with my story, and I feel like we all have that story, whether it's my amazing best friend / tech, Grayson, there's this turning point in our life, to where my turning point was 5 months ago, to where I gave myself to Christ.
Right.
And my life was heading the complete wrong direction, and it completely made a U-turn. In your life, what was your big turning point? The day you just, everything kind of shifted.
Honestly, I think I've had small shifts. I don't know that I've had a really big one yet. Well, I kind of have, but you know what? I'll just say it. So I was in. This is gonna be on the internet for everybody to see, but it's fine.
It's okay.
We're opening up. I'm not gonna say anything bad. I promise. So I was in a relationship for 4.5 years. It was a great relationship. Nothing wrong with it at all. It had its ups and downs, of course, like every one of them. But I thought I had a lot of independence. I had more than I remembered or what I thought I did in it. But I think the turning point was like whenever that ended, because it's what I knew for so long. It was my first relationship. And it was hard to deal with, I guess, because that was what I was used to, and it was such a long relationship, and most people were like, you know, how are you okay? And it's like, you know, because I take it one day at a time, I think now, and I avoided the emotions for a while. It wasn't the end of the world. It, you know, sometimes it would feel like it, I think, and I just didn't want to think about it that way. But I think that was a big turning point, and it's over 5 months now, and I'm still dealing with it. I'm doing a lot better because I didn't deal with the emotions, and I've been dealing with them kind of off and on lately. But you know, I think that definitely, that's probably been my biggest like U-turn of like life events lately. because it impacted me a lot. It made me realize that, you know, I do have myself. And that that's the thing about me, though, is I've never wished bad upon anybody. Can ask anybody, like, no matter what, I wish anybody that's ever been in my life happiness and success and whatever they do, because it doesn't have to be with me. And if it's not, then, you know, whoever you end up with or whoever makes you happy, you know, thrive off of that. Just remember that we can make ourselves happy too, and that's what I've been learning. That I can have myself and my own back just as much as anybody else could, but at the end of the day, you can't leave yourself. You can't go away from yourself. You have to deal with yourself every day on a daily basis. You have to come home to yourself, essentially. You know, you don't have to have anybody else in your life. You just choose to. You choose to want them or to need them in your life, but you don't have to have anybody to do life. You know, you have to do it with yourself, because you know, you are you. And that's why it's like I live by, like, you are your person, because at the end of the day, that's who you come home to, you. And so it's easy to think that you need people, but you don't. You just want them.
So I heard you say for a while you hid your emotions. This is for you, this is for everyone watching. When it came to even my own emotions, I would also kick them under the rug.
Right.
And I see people now do that. You know, the 19, 20, 21, 18. They go through this hardship and they kick it under the rug. And I believe that me and you have both kicked it under the rug, at least a few times. And for some reason, at least for me, I don't know, you felt the same, it never got better. We kicked it under the rug and it's just like, oh, it's not there anymore.
Right.
And they keep on moving forward. And to me, it was just, it was always there. I just went through a separation, I'm gonna say a breakup. Me and her never dated. But it was too real, like, it bothers me, but I'm saying it doesn't bother me.
Right.
So I used to always kick it under the rug, and what I found out was the answer to your pain is in the pain. To find how to get over the pain, you gotta go in the pain.
Right.
And the moment that we can finally go in that pain is the moment we can find our answer to move on from it. So do you feel like that's true to you too?
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. You have to deal with it to get over it, 100%.
And the last thing I want to talk about before we finish this up is college. From everything you've been through and now you're in college, how do you feel that everything has impacted you and shaped you?
I'll be honest, college, it's harder than high school, but to me it's way better. Even despite being here at a small Christian private school, it's had such a big impact. The people are so much better than high school. It's like, because of all the different mindsets and the different opinions and outlooks on life, you still, like, it's like high school, there's still diversity, but you get so many different people from so many different backgrounds. Because with college, you meet people from different states too. Like, you're from
Arizona,
all the way over there. And so it's crazy to, you know, see the people that come to such a small Christian private school. But I mean, you know, a lot of people make big impacts. You know, I have amazing friends here at Charleston Southern, and it's, you know, so many different types of people. And all of them have impacted my life in different ways, from the closest friendships ever to ones that I like are new and fresh, and I'm still like getting to know them. It's crazy to see the impact that people have on your life and the impact that you can make on them too. Yeah, for sure.
So the last question before we wrap all this up, what's the one piece of advice that you would give everyone?
Sounds cliche, said by Dr. Seuss. Okay. It's be who you are and say what you feel, because those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter.
That's great to hear. And for that is actually episode 5 of Mental Detox. I hope everyone likes, comment, and subscribe. So toodles.